So then the next one we'll go into is infrastructure. Are you in favor of supporting public transit and improving walkability in Longmont? Why or why not?
Public transit is fine. We have a 1% tax, a total 1% tax that we pay along the Front Range, including Longmont, and that's 0.6% goes to RTD. That's called our Regional Transportation District. Generally think bus when you think RTD. There's another 0.4% called fast tracks. That passed, I think it was in 2004. Those combined for 1%. I have an outline about fast tracks. I don't think the train is ever coming here. We're a relatively small city at the end of an exceedingly expensive proposed line, and I believe fast tracks / RTD will always make the decision not to expend resources to bring the train here. And I think right now they understand this, and if we come to the table and offer them a way out by saying we don't need the train to come here, but we don't want to pay the tax. But I think everybody will agree to that. But this is not to say I'm opposed to transportation. I would like to redirect those resources, and as part of that negotiating with RTD Fast Tracks, that we expand headways of bus service to Denver, Boulder, etc. We restore some of the specialty rides that we used to have in the cities. So, for example, football games and baseball games, RTD would have special buses that would take fans down to Denver for those games. We would also like to have a direct airport run. Right now, if you want to ride public transportation from Longmont to the airport, it's cumbersome and exceedingly time-consuming. So one of my favorite campaign ideas, you won't know this because you don't live out here, but in about 2 decades back, our former mayor, Leona Stacker, Stoecker, she envisioned this idea to bring art and beautification to our city. And she did get the idea from another city somewhere, but what it was that the city bought these large geese models. They were standing next to them, the heads, I don't know, maybe 6 feet off the ground. So they're quite large. And artists submitted models of how they would paint or decorate these blank geese. And then they were voted on by the public, and then the city awarded each artist some money, and these goose were all around town, and there's still a few around town. So I served 7 years on transportation board, and I floated an idea back then to use that model, the painted goose model, to do the same thing but with bus stops along our main street. Now, our main street is what the city is striving to make into a more walkable, pedestrian-friendly corridor that focuses on public transportation. So my idea is to have these bus stops. So Art in Public Places would then solicit proposals from local artists, and they would submit models. They would build little models of what they think their bus stop might look like. And again, these models might be in our public library, and the public can come in and vote on them, and maybe there's, I don't know, a dozen or so submitted, and we're funding 6, whatever the final number is. And then these are up and down our main street. And this would be it's my idea to encourage public transportation and youth. So if you have a car and you have a driver's license, it's a tall order to get someone out of their car and into a bus to take to work or what have you. And this is a way to instill the idea of public transportation in youth. So imagine, a 6-year-old child is riding with their parents down Main Street, and they're looking at passing these art installations that also function as bus stops. And it's, Mom, Dad, what is that? Well, that's a bus stop. Oh, can we go to this bus stop? And then so, it sort of gets this idea rolling. And it was actually after I had come up with this idea, I got a letter, advertising letter. I suppose everybody in the Front Range got it from Regional Transportation District, RTD. And they're unveiling a plan to encourage public transportation from area youth. and they're doing it by cutting the fares for 19 and under. So I think it's interesting. So I have.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have an idea to get youth interested in public transportation, and that's coinciding right now with RTD trying to do the same. I think it's a perfect time to mesh these things up and go forward with. I think it would just be great all around.
Well, I really like the idea of getting youth like more either educated or more inspired to take public transportation. Could you see a situation where maybe Longmont's local government starts partnering with maybe public schools to do, education days about public transit, or maybe a ride the bus to school sort of day or something like that?
Well, sure. And I raised 2 children in Longmont. There used to be, and maybe there still is, using RTD to transport children to school. And I would walk my daughter to the bus stop, and she would ride it to the high school. And so that happened for a while. And there's different schemes and such come and go in this city. And, public transportation in Longmont has a long history of frustration with the public, or the public frustration with RTD. Service gets cut, taxes never get cut. One of the things I'd like to see happen is just for RTD, just like their name says, regional transportation. They focus on getting people between the cities, and maybe let's leave it up to the cities to focus on getting their citizens around. And Longmont is thinking that way right now and trying to set up their own internal system of, call them, large vans or whatever, to be more responsive to what the residents of the city are looking for in their public transportation options.
No, I really like that answer. That's good.